Folks, welcome back to Kennesaw Mountain National Battlefield Park. My name is James. I'm one of the interpreter rangers here at the park. I'm standing today in our awesome museum, and behind me, just behind me, is a cutout visage of General Joseph E Johnston. And this is the figure that we're going to be talking about today. He's ever elusive, and there's a lot of controversy around him and a lot of misunderstanding when it comes to this particular figure. But we're going to try to get to the man behind this stern visage. Now, Joseph Eggleston Johnston was born February 3rd, 1807. His parents were Peter Johnston and Mary Valentine Wood. His father, Peter, is best known as being a Revolutionary War hero. He had served under a guy named Light Horse Harry Lee. And that last name might sound familiar. It's actually Robert E. Lee's father. His mother, Mary Valentine Wood, is a distant relation of Patrick Henry. So patriotism kind of ran in his blood. Now, these two individuals, his mother and his father, were slave owners, so he did grow up in a slave-owning household. However, he grew to detest slavery and often called the institution a curse. He never owned a single slave during his entire life and instead chose to try and focus on his profession. He was often described as being imaginative and military-minded when he was a child, traits that he would describe as building castles in the air. And what he would do is he would raise up a regiment of children, and they would go on mock battles throughout the Virginia countryside. And this became noticed by his father, again, war hero, soldier, who gifted him the sword that he had carried during the Revolutionary War, completely skipping out on 6 older brothers who would have been in line for such an heirloom. Well, this military-minded person, of course, would end up going to West Point in 1825. And from the onset, it was noticed that he was a very strict disciplinarian, something that would come into play later on. He hardly got a single demerit during his time there, and they were very strict at the time. He strove to be the best, but that spot had already been taken by a fellow classmate by the name of Robert E. Lee. And from the beginning, there was a sort of healthy competition between the two. Lee was always just one step ahead. And Joe Johnston would go on to graduate 13th out of 46 and go into the artillery. The first actions that he would see in his military career were battling Native Americans in Florida, where he made a name for himself for being very courageous on the battlefield. Afterwards, he would meet his wife, Lydia, and she became the apple of his eye. The passion that they would have, they would remain married for the rest of their lives, and it was often her letters that would kind of give him the oomph to be able to continue throughout his military career.